Hi there, I'm Stacy, the encaustic mixed media artist behind Studio Stacy. Encaustic literally means to burn in. So I paint with beeswax and a torch, and because it's mixed media, pretty much anything else I can get my hands on. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. Consider subscribing and joining this artsy community. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, which helps me get introduced to more like-minded artsy folks like yourself. Good morning all. It is winter here. Woke up to, maybe not completely winter, but woke up to a dusting of snow. Definitely boot season out there. Anyways, I'm gonna get the wax turned on in here and kind of warm up the studio a bit, and I'll flip the camera around and show you what I'm gonna be working on. But if you missed, I think it was yesterday's bonus video, I'll link it up here or stick it in the description somewhere, so you'll kind of get an explanation as to what this new video series is about. All right, here's the piece that I'm going to be working on, and really the only thing I'm not crazy about is this tree area. So sorry if you hear that clicking, the wax is on. In order to get this crochet on here, I basically crochet onto a piece of fabric, and that's what this tree is also on. So what I don't like is, I think you can tell, but it's kind of yellowy back there, and that's what happens when you add wax to some fabrics. So I'm going to go over this area up here, I think with some white and maybe blue wax. I have no idea what I did over here as far as what colors other than the white. I don't know what blue that is. So I'm probably just going to kind of try to go over the whole thing with some white, and hopefully it works out. But first I have to tape these edges off, and I'm also probably going to put blue tape on this crochet to protect it. I'm trying not to catch anything on fire, and I might use my heat gun some on this. I'm not exactly sure. Alright, slight change of plans. I'm not going to put the blue tape over this crochet yarn. I don't know if you can see here real well, but there's kind of like some nooks and crevices, and I don't even think I'm gonna be able to get the tape kind of to protect that area. So instead I have the heat gun out, and I'm just gonna use that for this particular area and see what happens. I also wanted to mention that the yarn I use in all of these projects is a cotton yarn. It's not synthetic or acrylic yarn, and that's, you know, cotton won't melt like your acrylic or synthetic materials will. So the heat gun should not, in theory, affect this yarn at all. So I just wanted to point that out. If you are going to be using yarn in any of your projects, make sure it's 100% cotton and doesn't have any extra little synthetic bits in it, because those will melt, which could possibly be an interesting effect, but not the effect I'm going for. And one last thing before I get started, I took and just on a piece of tracing paper, put this over and traced that tree image out. And I'm not sure, I might tweak it just a bit, but this way I have the tree to put back on there. The other challenging bit to redoing these paintings is I have no idea what colors I used. So I'm just kind of guessing that these are the right colors. I mean, I could have possibly mixed several different colors to get to these yellows, greens, and blues. So just taking a wild guess, and fingers crossed that they're right. think that's looking pretty good. And before I add the tree back in, oh, and you can kind of see it still poking through in certain areas of the background, which I like. But before I add that tree back in, I need to add in a few more details. And I took a picture of the painting before I redid the painting here. So let me show you. Hopefully you can see this and the glare is not too bad. But if I blow this up some, if you look at that sky area here, I had a little bit more shading to it, if you will, especially up here. I think you can see that in the camera. And then also down here, I have to etch in the weeds. So I'm going to do the sky first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my favorite color, oil stick, which is Payne's Gray, and just kind of rub that in to bring out some of those little tiny lines and the little kind of divot holes and things like that in the sky area. And then I'm going to etch in the weeds and do the same thing, fill in with a green oil stick down there kind of in the shrubbery, the weeds area. And then I could put the tree back on, which I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do that yet. I have a couple different ideas or techniques, methods, but first let's get the oil stick done. So because that oil stick will absolutely not rub off of this cotton yarn, to protect it, I am actually going to put some blue tape over it. The oil stick is pretty messy, I feel, and I sometimes have a hard time controlling as to where it goes because it's kind of a slick surface, the wax surface is. So I'm just going to protect this crochet. I'm also going to place a paper towel over it. So when I put my hand on it and I'm rubbing that oil stick in and then rubbing that oil stick back off, I'm not leaving anything from my hand, my gloved hand, onto the cotton yarn. All right, I'm trying one more thing, and that is the tracing paper that I traced the tree on. I folded it in half, traced it with the Stabilo water-soluble pencil, and I'm going to now take a little fine tip brush and some water and just brush these out a bit and just see how that looks. Alright, I kind of like how that looks versus just the lines. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan both of them into the computer and then print both of them out and do an image transfer. Alright, I think you can see this, but I don't think this image transfer is going to work. If you can see all these like specks on here, it's like this vellum, which I've used so many times in the past. I just got a new pad of it. And I don't know if it's not coated or what, but the printer is doing this. And it's not the printer because when I print it on regular paper, it's fine. Except for at the very top, probably where there's leftover ink on the printer roller, but then it clears up just fine. So I don't know if they forgot the coating on this vellum this time around. It looks exactly the same as what I have used in the past, the packaging and everything, but I don't know. So, plan B. Plan B is to just use the regular paper and see if I can't get it to transfer. I haven't had great luck with it, but I'm gonna try it out, and then if that doesn't work, go to plan C. All right, I think I've talked about image transfers before in the past, but just a quick refresher, or if you're new around here, how I do the image transfers. And that is I warm the surface just ever so slightly, not too much, because as you're rubbing that image on, you don't want to leave any divots in the wax. And if it's too hot, you'll leave divots. And then just rub ever so gently and kind of start to peel the paper away. Now, this paper did stick a little bit, so I had to get the tweezers out to kind of pry some of that paper up, which is why I like using the vellum. It just seems to get a cleaner image transfer. But at any rate, then after that image is fully transferred on, you want to embed that into the wax. So again, you want to heat it up ever so slightly, not too much or you'll distort the image, but just enough where it kind of sinks into the layer of the wax underneath, kind of just embeds that in there nicely. And I'm going to go over this again with my Stabilo pencil and some water just to get that image on there a little bit cleaner, kind of make it look a little bit more maybe like a watercolor, if you will. So that's what I'm doing here. It's not needed. You can actually just leave the transfer as is, but because it didn't come out real clean, I want to use this Stabilo pencil. All right, last step here is to remove the tape, and I'm just heating the edges of the painting up just ever so slightly so that when I peel that tape off, the wax does not chip off of the edges. All right, I would call that a pretty successful redo on this painting. I think the only thing left to do is clean up in the studio, so I'm gonna do that real quick now. Studio is all cleaned up. Nice clean counter again. And I think this is where I'm going to leave you for this one. I'm going to flip the camera around and show you some close-ups of this finished piece. I am much happier with it now that it's redone. And yeah, I'm happy to be redoing these pieces, kind of revisiting some of them. This one I think was a little bit of an easier one, so we'll see how the next one goes. But anyways, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. It really does help me out. Consider subscribing, and thanks so much for watching. More painting videos will be coming your way. Bye for now.